So you might think for 1 minute that they represent something holy, the Jewish religion or Judaism. Well, let's just look at what they said, their leaders. Vladimir Zhabotinsky, in one of his pearls, said in 1919, and it's quoted in the Haaretz magazine, he said, in the national home, we will announce that those Jews who have on themselves the rust of exile and they refuse to shave off their beards and earlocks will be second-class citizens and not have a right to vote. This was not a Nazi who said this. This was one of the leaders of Zionism, that Jews who have beards should not have a right to vote. Shame on you. That's what the Zionists are. They're hypocrites. These are what they are. This is what they say. And they're currently beating our brothers and sisters. They're beating them, oppressing them, arresting them in the Holy Land, not just the Palestinians.
Shame on you!
Shame on you! Theodor Herzl, Yamach Shmuel, wrote in his diary, he said the way to solve the problem of anti-Semitism is to make a mass conversion of all the Jews of Austria to Catholicism. This was Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism's way of solving the problem of anti-Semitism, to make a mass conversion of all the Jews of Austria to Catholicism. This is what we're dealing with. This farce called the Jewish state, the Zionist state of Israel. How dare they masquerade in our religion?
Shame on you!
Shame on you, Zionism!
They're the greatest exacerbator of anti-Semitism in history. They go around creating constant hate between Jews and Muslims. There's nothing that can be compared to what they're doing. Jews flourished in Arab and Muslim lands for hundreds of years. Our greatest scholars came from Muslim lands. This has nothing to do with their religious conflict. As distinctly Jewish people, we resided in Arab and Muslim lands for hundreds of years till the Zionists came and tried to confuse the issue, tried to incorporate my religion into their rebellion against God. They put on a facade of holiness on their selfish political plan. In order to have their state, they decided they selfishly will incorporate my religion. How dare they? They have no right to use our religion to do their crime, to oppress the people, to steal, to kill. It is unacceptable. It's not Jewish. And because we are Jews, we are here. We will never accept this rebellion against God. And that is why you will find around the world every single very religious community opposes the existence, the mere existence of the Zionist state of Israel. Take a look what you're dealing with. Look who's standing here and look who's standing over there by the Zionist gathering. Barely a religious person. People dressed immodestly against the laws of the Torah. That is an example of what they are. And you'll notice when they'll go by us, they'll curse with profanity. This is what a Zionist is. They have no shame. They have no fear of God. And yet they dare to stand and wave the Star of David. They're thieves. They're a den of thieves. There's no words to describe what they've done. How much damage they've done for the Jewish people and the Jewish religion. How many people did they kill for the Palestinian people? Just in this last month, close to 300 people they murdered. How many people did they maim? How many houses did they destroy? All in the name of God. It's revolting. It's unacceptable. We have a chief rabbinate and we have a chief rabbi in Palestine. And they stand in opposition. They stand in total opposition to this enterprise called the Zionist State of Israel.
Shame on you!
Shame on you, Zionists!
Shame on
Zionists,
you!
shame on you!
Shame on you, Zionists! When Yitzchak Greenbaum, his name should be obliterated. When he was asked about giving money to save Jews when they were being liquidated by the Holocaust, what did he say? He said, I say no. One should resist this wave which pushes the Zionist activities to secondary importance. When he was asked, should he give money of the United Jewish Appeal, the UJA, the Zionist Fund, to rescue Jews of Europe, he said, and I'm quoting him, no. And I say again, no. One should resist this wave which pushes Zionist activities to secondary importance.
Shame on you, Zionists!
Rabbi Weiss bemoans what the Zionists did, that they thwarted the efforts of saving Jews during the Holocaust. He saw their writing, he saw the letters that they wrote, and he's quoting the letter. It says, one goat in the Holy Land of Israel is more important than an entire Jewish community in Europe. That's a quote of the Zionist leaders. We're dealing with monsters. Chaim Weizmann, the first president of Israel, stated, this is published in the Jewish press, a Zionist paper, in October 1802. He wrote, we want only the educated to enter Palestine for the purpose of increasing its culture. This was a question whether they should help save Jews, whether they should help and save Jews who are being murdered in the Holocaust. And this is what he said. We don't want these Jews. Palestine cannot absorb the Jews of Europe. We want only the best of the Jewish youth to come to us. We want only the educated to enter Palestine for the purpose of increasing its culture. The other Jews will have to stay where they are and face whatever fate awaits them. These millions of Jews are dust on the wheels of history and may have to be blown away. Hear the words of this monster called Chaim Weizmann, the first president of the state of Israel. He said the other Jews have to stay in Europe, stay where they are and face whatever fate waits them. These millions of Jews are dust on the wheels of history and may have to be blown away. We don't want them pouring into Palestine. We don't want Tel Aviv to become another low-grade ghetto. Yes, this is the words of the father of Zionism, the one who was pivotal in creating the state. We have on and on the quotes of these leaders who masquerade and roll their eyes and present themselves as saviors of Jews, when in truth they are hypocrites. They try to undermine our religion. They love when this anti-Semitism grows in the world so they can claim there's a purpose for their state. The purpose of that state is to rebel against God. The purpose of that state is causing Palestinian and Jewish blood, rivers of blood. Well over 73 years of Jewish blood and Palestinian blood has been spilled for these guys to reach their goal, their selfish entity, their state of Israel. Nothing more and nothing less. We live together in the streets of Palestine. We have here children of the people who lived in Palestine for hundreds of years. This is not a question of a religious conflict. This has nothing to do with the difference of religion. We can coexist as we have for hundreds of years. Zionism is a monster. Zionism is the greatest cause of exacerbating anti-Semitism. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by these people who come here and kvetch and talk about the Holocaust. The Holocaust, they had their hands in the Holocaust. They thwarted the efforts of saving Jews. They colluded with the Nazis at the beginning. And it's well documented. These guys are monsters, and it's ongoing. When it becomes too quiet and they're losing support for their state, they create another havoc. They create more antagonism. They incite the Palestinians. And when they react, the Palestinians, what do? They yell anti-Semites, anti-Semites. They're revolting, they're repulsive, and it's unacceptable. They have no right to use our identity. These guys who breach flagrantly the laws, the Ten Commandments or the Torah, Sabbath is nothing by them. The Holy Shabbos, the cars going on the streets there. Non-kosher food is sold openly in the streets. What type of Jewish state do they have? These hypocrites. It's a total farce, the Zionist state of Israel. It would be one thing if it was a farce and it didn't affect human beings. But this farce called the Zionist state of Israel is torturing, is brutally attacking the Palestinians and the Jewish people in the streets of Jerusalem. And when we try to report on this on Facebook, Facebook shuts us down. Simply because we report what's happening in the streets of Jerusalem. Simply because we call for our rights. And we say we are Jews and not Zionists. So the Zionists, with their powers, was able to influence all the governments around the world that you're not allowed to say anti-Zionist. What a shame, what a tragedy, what a Nakba. They stand there with this pious look and talk about what the great activities, the great accomplishments that they have. One great accomplishment they had, they caused death and destruction of Jews, of Muslims, of Arabs, and a thriving anti-Semitism around the world, in Europe and around the world. That is what they've accomplished. They've accomplished of stealing the souls of our youth. They've accomplished that hundreds of thousands of Jews from the Sephardic lands lost their religion. That's what they accomplished. But what do they care? They have nothing with God. They only like to show symbols of Judaism and Christianity to be able to declare that they're a democracy. These hypocrites, why are they calling themselves a Jewish state? They make autopsies, they steal the bodies of our relatives, and we plead with them. It's against the Torah. The body is holy. They dig up graves for their archaeological purposes with impunity, without any respect for the thousands of years that we held up the Torah. How dare they? Who are they? They're a den of thieves, of immoral people. They have no right to speak in our name. Their activities is a crime. It's a rebellion against God. It's a heresy. They have no respect for the Almighty or His laws. Go look how they dress the women over there, and you'll see the difference between Judaism and Zionism. They have no compunctions, no problem with dressing immodestly. They have no problems with breaching the laws of the Ten Commandments, of Shabbos, of the Sabbath. Cars go and come. Businesses are open on the Sabbath in a city that is called the Holy City of Jerusalem, where everybody knew for hundreds of years, 2 hours before the Sabbath or so, all the stores would be closed in respect for the Almighty. But they have no problem with keeping their stores open. On the contrary, they call the ones who oppose this as intolerant. Intolerant, they say, these hypocrites. Where is their tolerance for the Palestinian people? Where is their intolerance for the Jews who want to uphold the Torah? Crusades. My grandparents were killed in Auschwitz. We suffered because we are Jews, proudly and willingly. Because we are Jews, we are ready to give our lives. And these murderers come to our demonstrations, which we never carry arms, and brutally beat and arrest old men, children, women. They have no respect for anybody or anything. They're ready to sacrifice on their idol, on the altar of their idol called the Zionist State of Israel, anything that stands in its way. They eagerly look to totally wipe off the map the religious communities. Who are they? They're a bunch of heretics, of rebels. There's no words to describe their inhumanity, what we call ungodliness. This is what Zionism is. Yet they have the audacity, the chutzpah, to tell the world that if you speak up against them, you're anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic. Well, in the same hour, in the same minute that they're saying that, their soldiers, their terrorist soldiers, their police are brutally beating Jewish boys and girls. They have mandatory military service. Our boys and girls, the day they turn 17, become criminals according to their evil laws. They arrest, they maim, they torture, and they murder ultimately our children and our rabbis. It is very well documented. Most probably the first famous martyr was Dr. Yaakov Yisrael Dahan. His blood should be avenged. Murdered by the Haganah because he stood up in opposition to Zionism. If you want to get an education and profanity, just listen to the Zionists who are going past us. You'll get a very good education on how a human being with holiness should not talk. We're dealing with people for their convenience sake or because they've been duped by their leaders' support. An unconscionable and unacceptable occupation of another people. But not only one person, not one people, not just the Palestinians, not just the Muslims, but the Christian populace. And of course, they occupy and oppress the Jewish people, their communities. They make every effort to totally dismantle, to totally wipe off the map the Jewish community that was existing there, that beautiful community in Jerusalem, in Al-Quds, and throughout occupied Palestine. But we have an Almighty who is the Almighty, and He will never let that happen. We will continue to speak up with God's help. We will continue to speak out, and we will never accept, just as we have never accepted when they tried to force us to convert to any other religion. We will never accept this Zionist attempt to take us away from God, from our religion. And therefore, with one voice, we say, Zionism, no! Judaism, yes! Judaism, yes!